Hey guys, Eric Dubois with edpbeats.com, and today I'm going to show you guys how to properly save your project files and how to export your tracks properly so that 2 years from now, a track that you made, you can go back into it and modify some things to fit an artist that wants to buy it. So here's an example. Here is my latest project file on Night Drive, which is the latest track that came out. And I'm going to show you guys my workflow through it and how I export and save my project files. So first off, I start organizing. I color code each and every one of my tracks. I rename each and every one of my tracks nicely so that I understand exactly what I'm dealing with. And so that when I open it up again 2 years from now, I know exactly where everything is. Color code your tracks so that it's nice and pretty. The easy way to do it in Ableton, for example, this track, if I want to do it, for example, like Salmon, then I just click Salmon, then I select all the tracks that are on there, right click here, Salmon, and that's how it works. So super easy, super fast. It's a good way to do it. And so do that to every single one of your track and rename them properly. Chords left, for example, chords right, so that you know exactly what you're dealing with and you don't have to go look into and solo each and every track to see what's going on. So the second part is to save. What you want to do is first, I like to save it apart. So save live set as. I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. I'm going to call it the name of the track. Alright, so I create a folder called Night Drive, and I'm going to save the project here. Project is going to be called Night Drive. It's saved. Now the most important step in Ableton, if you don't want to be losing your samples and the sounds that you've used in the song, is to go to File, Collect All, and Save. Now this is going to create a new folder called Samples in your project file, and it's going to save all the samples that you've used and all the recordings that you've done into that folder. So that's a very important step, and it's almost the most important step. Like that, whenever you move that folder around, you always have the sample inside, and Ableton doesn't have to go look everywhere for your samples, and it's a disaster. So very important step, the most important step. Alright, so now that you've collected and saved, this is how your file should look like. So Night Drive, as you can see inside, I have the project, I have all the samples that have been used. Now whenever you move this project around from another computer to another hard drive to this and that, you can still open it, it's still clean. But now I always go the extra step. Now in Ableton there's a super cool feature, I'm not sure it exists in other DAWs, but you can create a pack. And that pack is like a zip file. It's super easy to pass around to other people. It's super easy to keep on a hard drive, and then you can reinstall it into your Ableton and it opens up as a full project. So I'm going to show you guys how to create a pack right here. So you go to View, open your File Manager, Manage Project, and then Create Pack. And so I save it at the same place, call it Night Drive as well, save. And what it's going to do is going to do the same thing as collect on save. It's going to take every sample, every MIDI note, every MIDI clip, the tracks that you use, group it, save it nice and tight into a compressed file. And then next time when you open it, you can reinstall it into your DAW, and then it'll appear as the whole project. And then you can save that. So that's really cool. It's a really important step that I always do. So this is how it looks like, Night Drive. So it's this .alp. And this is Ableton packs. So you can find online a bunch of instruments for free, a bunch of templates also that are all saved in this format. So if you guys need it, you need to know how the pack works. So I save it as a pack like that. I have it as well, just in case, never know. The third thing I do once I'm done with the tracks is to export. So when I don't use a lot of tracks in my computer, it's a brand new computer, so it's working perfectly fine, I usually mix and master inside the project. So the same thing, I don't export stems out or anything to mix or master. I master straight in it. Export a mastered version of the track. So that's what I'm going to do right here. File, export. So also an easy tip is when you export, to make sure that, you guys probably know this already, but just to export, when you make sure to click your in the arrangement view, this little bar up top, and this is going to allow you to select the whole track. Because if you were mixing in something before and you hit export real quick, it might export just a single track and it might just mess up your mix. So I make sure to always select the same amount of that bar, same amount, the same distance, same length, I guess, in order to have each and every one of my tracks, whatever I'm going to export is going to be the same length of audio. So to export, click on export and then export master. Same thing, I'm going to export it straight where I did my new folder, Night Drive, and I'm going to call it Night Drive EDP master. Now your master track is exported, so it comes out like this. You have your Night Drive, your WAV file, and you have also the Ableton file, which allows you, if you drag that track into Ableton, it already knows the tempo, it knows the warp markers that you placed, it knows everything like that. So it's a good little file to have. It always comes with it anyways. Now the second part, what I like to do is to export an unmastered version, because unmastered tracks is what artists needs in order to lay their vocals and then send it off to mastering again and have a proper pro good looking sound. I made another video on how to have a pro sound, so check it out, on why you should use an unmastered track when you're recording vocals instead of a mastered track. So I always export an unmastered track. So the way I do it, since I use everything in the same, since I do my mastering and mixing in the same file, I just unclick all of my mastering plugins and then just hit export same way. Click that little bar above to always have the same length of a song. File, export audio, master, have the same length, perfect, and then click export. Now another thing that I do once you've cleaned up your project file, I notice here that I have 2 tracks extra, but one is for my, so I'm going to erase these tracks, make it nice and clean, everything's renamed, everything's color coded. So now what I do is export the stems. So in Ableton it's super easy. All you need to do is go to file, export audio, and click on all individual tracks, and this is going to export all of your stems, so each and every one of your track. And when I mean each and every one of your track, I mean each and every one of your tracks. So it's going to export, for example, if you have tracks that are grouped, like for example there's FX, it's going to export a WAV file for that group, so with all of the tracks that are in the group, and then a WAV file for each and every single one of the tracks that are in that group. So that's a good thing to keep in mind when you're renaming your tracks, so that you know which tracks go in what group, you know. So usually you should put, for example, here in this group I have 2 groups in it. I have chords plus bass, and then I have chords L, chords right, so I know that these will be going in. Bass, I have bass top, bass sub, so I know that those are going to be in the bass track. So that's something to keep yourself organized and clean once you export your stems. Once you export all individual tracks, it's also going to export your synths channels. So if you're using any synths, make sure to rename them properly as well, because it's going to export that as well. This is how a folder will look for me officially. So inside the folder you can see I have the my mastered version. I have a tagged version where I have my voice tag on it for streaming. And I have an unmastered version, which we talked about before. And I also have my stems right here. So this is how your stems are going to look like once you export them. So you see they're all named the way they're supposed to be named inside the folder. And I also do an extra step. I compress this stems file into a zip file so that I can put it on Dropbox, or I can upload it. If a person needs it, I can just send it over real quick. And that's how my folder of each track looks. So if I go into any other track in my hard drive, it will all have the same structure and all have the same files in it, so I can go quickly. So if someone ever calls me up and says, hey, I need that Night Drive track you made like 2 years ago, I just go into the folder. I said, okay, what do you need? Unmastered, you need the stems, you need me to work on the track a little more, you know what? I have everything there and everything's good to go. Also, extra tip that I keep in my folders. So I always keep also the artwork that I made and the video that I made. Like that, everything is in one folder and it's easy access, and I can just go and get anything that I need out from there. So yeah, so I hope you guys learned some stuff with this video. I hope you guys are going to put this to action. Again, even if you're not selling beats yet, make sure to do this with every single one of your tracks. And then that folder, just save it into a hard drive. Like that, you can always have access to it. Collect on save and create a pack. Those are the 2 most important steps. And export your stems, because in case your project doesn't work, at least you have the stems that you can still work on. Once again, this is Eric Dubois. If you guys want to check out the extra tips, they're on the Patreon cam. The link is down below. I really appreciate it. And If you have any questions or comments, or if you have any ideas for the next video next week, just let me know, and I'll be glad to help you guys out.